Okay, I think I'm ready. Hi, what is up everyone? My name is Bria and I am here to talk to you guys about my D23 Expo experience. It was insane and there was so many people, so many great cosplays. Hopefully I can share a little bit with you about how it was run, how it worked, and should you go next year. It's every 2 years, by the way, not next year. So let's run it back from the beginning. All right, so it started on Thursday. My trip experience started on Thursday. So we flew in. We got in at about 10 in the morning. So we left at about 4 a.m. our time, coming from the East Coast to the West Coast. It was a amazing transition. Going from what I'm used to in the East Coast versus what we see in Anaheim. Anaheim is very, very different, right? I wasn't used to the mountainous areas, even though I'm from the East Mountains. They're different. It looks very different. Also, all the buildings are short, like unexplainably short. So when we arrived, we got a nice little Uber. The guy was super nice, super sweet. Like, where are you from? We're from New Jersey. So, you know, the first time that we're in Anaheim, it's a very big culture shock for me because I've been to Los Angeles. I went to Vegas and then we went to Los Angeles for one day. And it was, all the buildings were short, and you know, it almost gives Florida vibes. I'm a Walt Disney World person, so for me, I am so used to the vibe of Florida. That's what I was expecting. That's what I came in knowing. If you haven't been to Disneyland, it is a very different experience. Let me let you know before you get into the next part. And it was cool, it was fun, you know? Anyway, we get into Anaheim, we're driving through, we're looking at everything. I loved it, right? I'm a big fan of the area. And so as we get to the hotel is about, for us, a 20-25 minute walk from the parks, which is also about a 20-25 minute walk from the stadium, the conference center, because they're very close together. You'll see that everything in Anaheim, from, you know, being used to that Walt Disney World extravaganza, it's a very different experience. And I'll get more into that when I talk about going into the park. But the hotel room was nice, you know. So I went with my friend Daquan and we had such a great time. You know, I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the vibe over there. It's just, you know, it's savory. We'll get more into that as we keep going. The first day we spent pretty much the entire day in Disneyland because, you know, it was the day before the conference, so we wanted to get all of the Disneyland stuff. We wanted to see Disneyland. Keep this in mind. I don't know if any of you have actually been to the parks. I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you probably have been to the parks or are interested in it. And so let me just run this back. So we're walking from the hotel to the parks, right? It's a nice little walk. They've got a little strip that we're walking on. One thing that has nothing to do with anything else is that in California, they have like legal U-turns, like in the middle of the street. And that was driving me crazy. It drove me crazy the whole trip. Because in my head, I'm like, why are they doing U-turns? They're not supposed to be doing U-turns. There was a couple from Oklahoma that were also like, why do they have U-turns here? So I knew it wasn't me that was crazy. It couldn't have been me. And that was different because I'm not used to having the signs look like wee, 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 wee. I was a lot. So we pretty much spent that entire first day in Disneyland and it was amazing. It was weird. It was definitely weird. So let me walk you through how it gets in, right? You're walking on the street, you're walking on the street, you're walking on the street. And then you walk into where they do the security lines. You know, they have like a long little strip, and then you get into the security lines and then you get to go into the park. We chose that the first day we were going to go into Disneyland. And it's the same. Like, it's Magic Kingdom, but like not Magic Kingdom. Let me explain, right? So the more that you get into the park, right? You see the railroad. It's reminiscent, it's beautiful, it's amazing. It has that plaque that just sets my soul on fire. And I realized, like, I'm in Disney, man. I cried because the last time I was in a Disney park, I had a little bit of a bad experience. And so I got to just soak in on the fact that I'm in my favorite place. I'm in my favorite place in the world. And I get to be in a new park, which was a great new experience. However, when you walk in, right, you walk into the original Disney park. This is the original Disney park. So the more that you walk in, the more that you realize, well, it's pretty much the same, but it's a little bit different. You know, the vibe is different there. When you go into Walt Disney World, like, Magic Kingdom feels like a resort, right? You know, Magic Kingdom, it feels like a park. Whereas like being in Disneyland, everyone felt very homey. Anyone I asked a question to was polite, they were kind, and they were very straightforward. Like, hey, you need to go here, this is where you go. And I think that made it so much better to be a part of it. I felt like I was a part of something that you don't really get when you're in Florida. Now, Florida is my park. Florida is my park, right? I love it there. But I understand why Disney adult culture has centered itself around California. That also, we'll get more into that as we talk about like Boo Bash and all that. The big thing that was, you know, as we're walking down Main Street, you get that familiar vibe. I'm like tearing up because I love it so much. And then I see your tiny little castle. I'm sorry, Florida's castle's so much bigger. It's like extravagant. So seeing that like 70-foot castle, it was like, oh, it's so cute. And like, I liked it, but it was also just like, not to be unfortunate, it was underwhelming because I'm so used to having my big castle greeting me, like staring into the sky. I don't really know what to say. I loved it, but it was so cute. So that first day, we kind of just spent the whole day walking around the park, seeing what was different, seeing what wasn't different. We didn't get to ride all the rides, unfortunately, because, you know, I wanted to, you know, see more of the stuff. And then we sat down to eat, and I really like New Orleans Square. I really, really, really like it. I think that, you know, Liberty Square is fun, but that was just a vibe, a decadence that like we don't really have. But most of everything else was pretty much the same. Also, your Star Wars is in your Magic Kingdom. It's not Magic Kingdom, but it's a basically equivalent. The parks are pretty much the same. There are differences, and I know that people who are more like parks loyalists would probably be like, but there's a lot of differences. And if you think that, please comment down below because I would love to talk about it. But you know, for the most part, it was a pretty standard experience. We got to see a lot of things. We got to, you know, Tom Sawyer's House was cool. That was another thing. And unfortunately, at the end of the night, I'm like, yes, fireworks, fireworks, fireworks. And I'm told, keep in mind, we came on a Thursday. There are no fireworks. I'm perplexed. My mind is boggled. No fireworks. No fireworks at a Disney park? That's wrong. And so I was fuming because I was like, there's no way that I'm here at this Disney park and there's no fireworks. And so basically what the cast member had told me was they don't do fireworks during the week because they live in a residential area. So when school starts and stuff like that, once the summer season is over, they don't have fireworks during the week. So come back on Friday. This is very important to the story. This is very important to the story because it's gonna come back a lot. Oh, another thing that I got to do was I got to buy a fancy pair of ears. Are you ready? Disney magic. Ha, ta-da. So I bought these ears. They're the Alice in Wonderland ones, and I wanted to make sure that I bought them because we don't have Alice in Wonderland at our park. So I wanted to make sure that I went on the things that I knew that I was never going to be able to come back to because I don't think I'm going to be back in California for a while unless I work at Disney. Hopefully one day. One thing that I did notice about like the ears in California versus the ears in Florida is that these ears are very thin. And I'm used to them having like a little puff to them. So that was weird. That's a thing to note. Honestly, I had a little bit of a hard time on my first day. This is why it took us so long to get through the park because the last time that I was in a Disney park, I didn't really have the best experience. And if you want me to talk about that, I can talk about that in a separate video, but I really don't want to make myself sad. Anyway, so we are finally on the first day of the D23 Expo and it is insane. People are lining around the blocks in Anaheim to get there. On that day, we actually met people right before we went there who I will refer to as my Disney saviors. And they, you know, allowed us to go with them. And so we all got to go together as a group. There was 4 of us, right? And it was hectic, right? Once we got past the lines, because there was a separate line and we got to basically walk around the long line to get to the line that wasn't as long. Once we got in, eventually, we walked into the sign where they have the Disney 100 sign. And it was astounding. I've never been to the Anaheim Convention Center. It was huge. So they had, for the layout, they had 3 halls. It was Hall A, Hall B, and Hall C. Depending on what hall you were in was depending on where you had stuff. Personally, I think that Hall C ended up being, I don't remember which side I put C on, but Hall C ended up being the best hall because it was the most, you know, it felt like there was the most stuff in it. That's where all the pin traders were. That's where Lorcana was. Asterisk on Lorcana. We'll get back to her. And basically, I just felt like the layout in that room, it felt easier to walk through. You know, in a convention center, you kind of make some sort of formula into walking. So I do a bob and weave situation. I walk through one section, I turn once I get to the edge of the room, and I walk through the other section, because then I feel like I can look at everything without having to go through everything and walk in like a crazy pattern. So I just like to see everything. So the first day when we walked in, we walked the floor, right? We got there at like, it said the floor opened, I don't remember what time we got there. Oh, so one thing I wanted to mention is the people are so nice. All of the cast members that we met, all of the people that we met, like these were genuine Disney fans who were just there to, you know, have a good time and, you know, be there. Just be like, hey, I love this. Hey, this is Future Bree. The video accidentally got way too long, so I had to do this in parts. If you like, please subscribe and wait for the next video, because I'm going to be posting these basically side by side so that I can explain how Disney went, and let me know what you think. Put whatever in the comments. I'm great at talking. Bye.